to Constitute to real estate.
Welcome back to Conan's Keys to Real Estate, unlocking Utah's real estate secrets, one key at a time. I'm your host, Ryan Conan, a full-time realtor at Real Broker, helping buyers and sellers in Twila and the Salt Lake Valley. Buying your first home is one of those milestones that feels exciting, stressful, and overwhelming all at the same time. For most people, it is not just a financial decision, it is emotional. It represents stability, independence, and progress in life. But here is what most people do not talk about enough. The first home purchase is also where a lot of avoidable mistakes happen. Not because buyers are careless or unprepared in life, but because the process itself is unfamiliar, fast-moving, and emotionally charged. And what makes it even more challenging is that most of these mistakes do not feel like mistakes in the moment. They feel like normal decisions. It is only later that the consequences show up. So, in this episode, we are going to slow everything down and walk through the most common mistakes first-time buyers make, not just what they are, but why they happen, what they look like in real life, and how to avoid them completely. Mistake 1. Starting with homes instead of starting with numbers. This is probably the most common mistake in real estate, and it happens almost every day. A buyer opens a home search app, starts scrolling listings, and suddenly they are emotionally involved in properties before they have any real understanding of their financial position. At first, it feels harmless. You are just browsing. But what actually happens is something very predictable. You start forming expectations around homes you may not even be able to afford comfortably. You fall in love with the layout. You picture your furniture in the space. You imagine your life there. And then when reality comes into the picture, it feels like a downgrade. The problem is not that you are excited. The problem is that you built emotional attachment before you built financial clarity. A better approach is to reverse the order completely. Start with a lender, understand your full financial picture, then begin looking at homes within a realistic range. That way, every home you see is actually an option, not a fantasy. And that single shift alone eliminates a massive amount of frustration in the process. Mistake 2. Confusing approval with affordability. This one catches almost everyone at some point. When a lender gives you a pre-approval amount, it can feel like a recommendation, like someone is saying, this is what you should spend. But that is not what is happening at all. A pre-approval is simply a calculation based on debt ratios, income, credit, and loan guidelines. It is a ceiling, not a suggestion. The lender is telling you the maximum you qualify for, not the amount that will feel comfortable in your life. This is where buyers get into trouble. They assume if they are approved for a certain number, that must be the target, so they shop at the top of their approval range and leave themselves very little financial breathing room. And what often follows is what people call being house poor. The mortgage gets paid, but everything else feels tight. Savings slow down, flexibility disappears. Unexpected expenses become stressful instead of manageable. A better approach is to decide your comfort zone first. Ask yourself, what monthly payment feels stable for my life, not just what I qualify for. Then work backward from there. Mistake 3. Underestimating the real cost of owning a home. Most first-time buyers think about one number, the mortgage payment. But home ownership is not one number. It is a collection of ongoing costs that together create the real financial picture. You have principal and interest, property taxes, insurance, utilities, maintenance, repairs, and long-term replacements. And the key detail here is that none of these costs feel overwhelming individually, but together they change the monthly reality significantly compared to renting. For example, a home that looks affordable based on the mortgage alone may feel very different once you add taxes, insurance, and maintenance expectations. This is where a lot of buyers get surprised after moving in, not because they were misled, but because they never fully calculated the full picture ahead of time. A smart approach is to always assume ownership costs will go beyond the mortgage. Build a buffer into your expectations so nothing feels unexpected later. Mistake 4. Letting emotions drive the decision. This is one of the hardest parts of buying a home, because emotion is not avoidable. It is part of the process. You walk into a home and something just feels right. The lighting, the layout, the backyard, the neighborhood, it connects emotionally. And that is not a bad thing. The problem happens when emotion overrides evaluation. This is when buyers stretch budgets, overlook concerns, or rush decisions because they do not want to lose the home. On the other side, fear can also take over. A buyer might love a home, but hesitate because they are afraid of making the wrong choice. Both extremes create imbalance. The goal is not to remove emotion. The goal is to balance emotion with structure. One of the best ways to do that is comparison. Always look at multiple homes in the same range. Even if one stands out, comparison gives you context. It resets your perspective and helps you make decisions based on value, not just feeling. Mistake 5. Making financial changes during the process. This is one of the most important but least understood parts of buying a home. Once you are under contract, your financial profile needs to stay stable. That means no new debt, no large purchases, no new credit lines, and ideally no major job changes unless absolutely necessary. The reason is simple. Lenders are not just approving you once. They are continuously verifying that your financial situation remains consistent all the way through closing. Many deals that look solid at the beginning run into issues because something changes mid-process. A car purchase, a credit card application, or unexpected debt can all shift your approval status. This is why stability is one of the most important rules after you start the process. Mistake 6. Trying to time everything perfectly. Some buyers rush because they feel pressure. Others wait because they are trying to find the perfect moment. Both approaches create problems. Rushing can lead to poor decisions and lack of preparation. Waiting too long can lead to missed opportunities and increased competition later. The real answer is not timing the market. It is aligning with your readiness. If your finances are stable, your credit is solid, and your life situation is steady, you are in a position to make a decision based on clarity instead of pressure. Mistake 7. Not asking enough questions. This might sound simple, but it is huge. Many first-time buyers feel like they should already know everything, so they stay quiet even when they are unsure. But real estate is complex. There are no bad questions, only unanswered ones that create confusion later. The more you ask, the more confident you become in the process. Good professionals actually expect questions. It is part of how they guide you properly. Real-world perspective. Let's put this into two simple paths. One buyer jumps into the process emotionally, starts looking at homes before understanding finances, stretches their budget, and reacts to decisions as they go. The other buyer starts with a lender, understands their budget, defines comfort first, then begins the search with structure and clarity. Both are equally capable. Both want the same outcome. The difference is process, and process is what determines how stressful or smooth this experience becomes. My final thoughts. Most first-time buyer mistakes are not about intelligence or capability. They are about timing, emotion, and lack of structure in the process. The key to avoiding them is simple. Start with your finances. Define your comfort zone. Stay consistent during the process, and slow your decisions down enough to stay objective. When you do that, buying a home stops feeling overwhelming and starts feeling clear and controlled. The goal is not just to buy a home, but to buy the right home in a way that supports your long-term stability, confidence, and peace of mind. This is Conan's Keys to Real Estate Unlocking, Utah's Real Estate Secrets, one key at a time.